Kinship, as one of the second sphere powers charged with defeating evil beings, is responsible for transporting the forces of Paradiso onto the battlefield, leading countless angels to the front lines. Catching sight of Kinship's magnificent flying appearance is analogous to many as the arrival of true happiness. It is thought that Kinship is the angelic manifestation of the ark that saved a foolish human race from the devastating flood described in the Book of Creation within the scriptures of Ethival. Within the 9 ranks of the angelic hierarchy, the highest-ranking seraphim are charged with governing the love and zeal for the Creator. The pure white-armored Gracious and the black armor-clad Glorious are often sighted in pairs. However, their existence itself remains legend, subject to rumors of varied veracity. Supposedly gifted with incredible godlike powers, there are no records of Gracious or Glorious appearing on the battlefield of evil. However, it is said this is because a mere taste of their power is enough to destroy the world, devastating all in its path, both the record and the record keeper. Within Paradiso's divine will, also known as the cardinal virtues, Iustitia, or justice, is known to take a particularly strange physical manifestation. A large mass covered with numerous faces and extending outwards via countless tentacles, Iustitia could easily pass for a demon. This may be due to the fact that those depicting the angel are filled beyond comprehension with awe at the sheer difficulty of encouraging justice in the world. Among Paradiso's divine will, there are those who believe that Iustitia is the closest of the cardinal virtues to hell. Justice is said to be based upon rules established by man, to be followed by man, and changing one's viewpoint can lead to a change in what is evil. This uncertainty may be a manifestation of the existing folklore and depictions of Iustitia. Bayonetta, unable to hide her worries about Cereza, finds her path blocked by another witch, Jeanne. Within her eyes lies not worried for a young child, but only blind ambition. She bats nary an eyelash at the statues revealing their connection, standing coldly in Bayonetta's path.
Fill your eyes with hatred. Accept your violent fate. Accept it, and earn the left eye. Prove you deserve it.
Artists have often depicted the cardinal virtue of prudence, Sapientia, as the marine animal roaming the depths of the sea. This is likely due to the human disposition to characterize the sea as the source of all life, a veritable fountain of prudence and wisdom. It is also thought that Sapientia is responsible for the rise and fall of the tides, and natural phenomena such as tsunamis. The grand idea that the living seas could be nothing other than divine will at work is actually evidence of Sapientia's narcissism, even among the other cardinal virtues. When a man born as a slave led his people to freedom from ruling oppression, it is said that it was only Sapientia's favor that parted the seas and allowed for their escape. A vile centipede hailing from Fragedonta, a river of boiling blood in the depths of Inferno. Rumors speak of its body exceeding 10 kilometers in length. Moving unlike anything its size, its deftness allows it to wrap around and constrict its prey in the blink of an eye. Phantasmaraneae nests upon a sea of magma, deep within the furthest reaches of Inferno. Rarely seen upon the face of the earth, even sightings of the demon in hell are a seldom event, leading to its name, which means phantom spider. While having the frightening appearance of a spider, it is a curious beast, and should one have the good fortune to encounter the Phantasmaraneae, one should treat it with care and respect, in hope of receiving rare treasures and secrets in return. Unfittingly for a city of its small size, Vigrid plays host to a large military airbase. The roar of takeoff and landings that engulf the city are not that of passenger planes, but of incredibly large military transport jets known as Valkyries. I have been aboard American military transports many times in an official capacity, and have seen many of the finest jets up close. However, none compares to even a distant view of a Valkyrie. The size difference is clearly evident, like the difference in size between a crow and an eagle. To think that something that large could fly in the sky is something that I still cannot believe, despite having seen it with my own eyes. Of course, there is no doubt that the cargo it carries is quite dangerous, so seeing the plane's huge mass literally drop onto the runway during landings causes me to feel deep anxiety, as if the weight of the plane were literally landing on my shoulders. It leads one to wonder what the authorities are bringing into this little principality, with all the extreme security they have in place. Vigrid has long since cut most ties with the outside world, and has reared itself within its own unique culture. Perhaps it is this influence that led to the Valkyrie's equally unique design. At a glance, one can see the deep religious influence in its design, or perhaps that view is simply our deference to a plane born of technology so different from our own that we simply nod our heads in astonishment as at the miracle of flight. At the center of the man-made island of Isla de Sol, there is a display of sheer military force unimaginable for the likes of Vigrid. A display whose menacing power even I cannot shake. While there is very little public face to these efforts, if my information is correct, the military spending here rivals that of even the great powers in the world. Moreover, amongst the towers of enterprise and government, other buildings stand as anti-aircraft countermeasures. These buildings, a strategic defense initiative known as the Gjallarhorns, are equipped with a battery of anti-aircraft SAM missiles and have been placed in 4 corners of the island. What in the world would cause a small place like this to install such dramatic defenses? There is also word that the Americans are involved in the armament and expansion of the military complex here. It is said that the Ethaval group is undertaking some sort of next-generation energy research, and thus has traded rights to this technology for added force of arms. It is not a wholly unbelievable story. Seeing all of the military takeoffs and landings here in Vigrid, I don't want to think their destination is actually the place I can call home. Several hundred years ago, the now vanished clans of the Umbra Witches and Lumen Sages stood as overseers of time immemorial, thriving from their remote European base known as Vigrid. However, their reign quickly came to a close via a violent war that ended in their mutual destruction. Their war, lasting for 100 years, saw the witches and their campaign of assassination push them to the brink of victory. Yet the people's fear of these powerful women spawned the witches' hunts, and eventually both clans vanished into the ether. Long serving the powers that be, it is said the clans did not use their power to interfere with history, but rather to protect its passage. We are told that they carried out these duties via use of their treasured Eyes of the World. Yet, what this statement means is anyone's guess. What is clear is that the clan's very existence was closely linked to historical change, so much so that even kings and emperors feared the clan's power. There were 2 Eyes of the World, one each controlled by the witches and the sages, which when used together were able to carry out their stated task of overseeing. To prevent the power of these eyes from being used for nefarious purposes, they were equally split, and the clans prohibited interrelations in an effort to maintain the balance of power that existed between them. The irony is that the grand war that led to the clan's destruction was sparked by these very treasures. After their downfall, the Eyes of the World suddenly disappeared. Information about them is extremely limited. What sort of item were the eyes? What shape did they take? All this remains unknown. The black markets recently saw a large gemstone come onto the market bearing the name of the Eyes of the World, although it may be a different item under the same name, or even a mafia scam to gauge market reaction. There is no proof that the ancient treasure was actually a gem, but there is a reliable, albeit troubling, information regarding the treasure and the CEO of the Ethaval group. It is said that he is in search of some unknown item for his development project, in next generation energy, but whether it has any relation to this matter requires further research.